Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you enjoyed that little intro that I put together. I had a lot of fun putting it together. My name is Chris Lippincott, and I'm an international medium and best-selling author. And today, this is Spirits Beside Us Live, and we're going to be talking all about the spirit world, spirits. Specifically, we're going to be talking about how can you discuss and how can you tell that you're a psychic. That's a broad topic, I realize. But one of the things I wanted to do is to really kind of dive into this, go into some depth about it, and really kind of talk about what we've got. So if you're here on the channel, let me know. I see Melba's on the channel. Hi, Melba. How are you doing? Great to see you here. One of the things that is so important right now is to start thinking, what does the word psychic mean? What does it include? What do we mean when we're psychic? Because we're all psychic, right? And how do we know that we're all psychic? It's a quandary. In fact, it's quite a debate. Well, if you think about it, all of our brains are based on something, it's a foundation that's really old. Our brains actually date back to about 540 million years ago, when all we had was something that was like a little knob at what is at the base of our spinal column. Today, we call that the hindbrain. Let me give you an example of what it looks like. This is what the brain looks like. That yellow area you can see that I circled is the hind brain. That's at the top of the brain stem, right? And now that's about 20% of our current brain. The balance of our brain, the other 80%, that's the forebrain. That's where we do our thinking. But it's the hindbrain where everything that's automatically done, automatically regulated, whether it's our heartbeat or our breathing or anything that we don't do on a normal basis when we're thinking, that's something that is controlled by the hindbrain. Now, that's how animals communicate. They really keep that part of the brain active. We, on the other hand, we humans, over the last several 100 million years, when we've started to use more communication, more contact with speech, we've put the hindbrain and the abilities that are in the hindbrain, those psychic abilities, in the back, and now they're dormant. We don't really use them because we're using our forebrain. That's the part of the brain that we've really focused on. We're using it for communication. We're using it for things like, for example, right now, my forebrain is firing. When you're looking at something and you're paying attention to something, that's your forebrain working. So that's something that when you're trying to understand, okay, what part of my brain is firing and where am I getting these things from? It's your hind brain. And that's why everybody has these abilities, but they're just resting in the back of your brain. They're resting dormant because you're not using them. You haven't been taught or raised to use them, unless it's been in your family, of course, in which case that's a whole nother story. But what I wanted to focus on are your psychic senses. How do your psychic senses come to the surface? How do you know you even have them, right? And a lot of people say, well, I know I've got my gut instinct. I've got my intuition, right? And a lot of people will rely on that. But the vast majority of people will say, yeah, I get my gut instinct, but I don't really listen to it. I know quite often that I still do that. I'll get that instinct, and that something will tell me to do something, and because it's so quiet, because it's so subtle, I don't listen to it, because my conscious brain right now or anytime is just jabbering away, and I don't even pay attention to it, right? So I'm going on and on and on and on, and I ignore that subtle voice, that subtle attention that I'm getting. So, for example, it's the clairsentience that I'm feeling. That's really your awareness. That's your gut instinct, right? That's really sort of the first sign. That's really the first part of you that you'll begin to understand when you start thinking, do I have psychic abilities? That's in your gut. That's your gut instinct. Why is it in your gut? Because it's coming from your solar plexus. Let me see if I can bring this up here. All of our chakras, for example, have a connection to our broad aura system. I don't want to get too far afield, but I want to show you this. This is a diagram of all of our different chakras, and you'll see in the middle there that yellow, that solar plexus chakra. That's where your clairsentience rests. That's where it lies. It's the basis of your wisdom. It's the basis of your soul. It's the basis of your awareness. You're feeling. How do you sense your awareness? And that's your gut reaction. That's why people say, I have a gut instinct or I have a gut reaction. That's coming from your solar plexus, that yellow area. That is what they're talking about. That's why you feel a gut instinct. That's your solar plexus chakra. And if you'll notice, each one of these colors from the bottom, where you're at the red, the root chakra, to the orange, to the sacral chakra, to the solar plexus chakra, the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, all the way up to the crown chakra. These are color-coded, and they have a direct connection to the aura. Take a look at the aura, for example. If you take a look at the aura, notice how the colors are absolutely identical. Root is red, right? See, there's the red. There's the root. Go all the way to the top to the crown chakra. That's violet. Violet is the causal body. So you're everything from the ethereal body all the way on the red. That's your closest layer of your aura, all the way out to your causal body, which is the farthest afield of your aura. And you can see each one of your chakras is a portal, if you will, to each one of those layers. So I know I got a little bit of far afield on that, but I wanted to give you that sense of how our different chakras and how our different psychic senses that are located in each one of these different chakras connects also to our aura. It's all interrelated. It's all part of our physical body, our etheric body, our aura, our energy. And so we've all got this. And again, it's all in the hind brain. So one thing I also wanted to move on to is one of the second clairs that is also a psychic sense. This is something that is quite aware for a lot of people, especially women, clairempathy. It's the sensing of other people's emotions. When you sense other people's emotions and you begin to say, for example, you're in a crowded room or you're in an elevator or you're in a subway and you start to take on these other emotions of other people and you're not quite sure why you're getting these emotions, or you're getting overwhelmed with emotion, or you're getting really sensitive with other emotions and you're not quite sure where or why, that's because of your clairempathy, because you're an empath. And many empaths are women because they're so sensitive, they pick up the emotions of other people. In many cases, what winds up happening is they take on the emotions of other people to the point where all of a sudden other people's emotions are the majority of the emotions they're feeling, and they've lost their own emotions. They become like a sponge. Many empaths are like a sponge for other people's emotions. And again, the emotions as a sensation, that's also something that is tied up in the solar plexus. So that's just one of the second things you can think about. Am I a psychic? Just think about your emotions. Are you picking up other people's emotions? Are you overly sensitive? Are you in a crowded area and you just feel these sensations, the emotions of other people? That's a key driver right there. So think about that. That's one thing to look at. Now, of course, another one that is perhaps very well known is clairvoyance. And clairvoyance is nothing but having an ability to see in the mind's eye. It's very similar to just imagining an object in your mind, for example, right? So if you do that, that's going to give you sort of a sense of what you're able to do. You can see things. In fact, what's very interesting is that if you remember in the 1970s, the US government actually had a top secret program working with remote viewing using clairvoyance. It actually worked. It was actually quite accurate. But again, going back to this chakra system, if you look up to the blue section, the dark blue section, the third eye chakra, that's your visual awareness. You can tap that by connecting with your mind. That's in between your brows. That's why they refer to it as the brow chakra or the third eye. So it's between your eyes, between your brows. It's kind of right here. So if you're very sensitive to images or visions, and you're getting these tremendous visions that are very detailed, descriptive, vivid, whether you're awake or perhaps you're even asleep and you're having these dreams that are telling you, my gosh, I feel like I'm seeing these real things that are actually coming to fruition. And in many cases, maybe they are. That's something that could be really dramatic. And if you start seeing that, in fact, your visions are starting to come to fruition, then you're starting to get these visions play out. That's also an indication that perhaps there's a psychic ability that is closer to the surface than you realize. Another sense that you could work with is also clairaudience. And that's just the ability to hear in the mind's eye. Say, for example, you begin to hear voices, you begin to hear music, you begin to hear sounds, but these are all in your mind. You're not hearing it objectively, you're hearing it subjectively. And maybe you start thinking, am I going crazy? Am I starting to hear things that aren't there? Well, they're there. It's just that nobody else can hear them, right? So that's all what it is. And again, this is a psychic sense. These are all psychic senses. But again, this is something that is part and parcel of that dormant hindbrain. And if we look at where clairaudience lies, go to the chakras again, what's interesting is it's part of the communication system. The throat chakra, that powder blue chakra in the throat, the communication, that's the home of clairaudience. That's the home of the ability of being able to hear things that you cannot hear using your physical ears, right? So that's where that actually rests. That's the home of that clairaudience. And another thing that you can tell is that if you've got different clairs, is start thinking about this smell that's not physical. It's called clairaudience. Clairaudience is basically the smelling in the mind. It's the ability to smell things, have aromas that you detect that aren't there physically. You're smelling them in your mind. Let's say, for example, as perhaps an exercise, imagine, if you will, the smell of baking bread in an oven. Now imagine, if you will, the smell of oil or the smell of grease. Now imagine, if you will, the smell of 7-day-old garbage. But you can understand my exercise here is you can just use your mind to begin to smell in your mind what these things smell like. Now you keep on doing that, you can exercise that clair. But what's happening is that outer sources, whether it be the source from spirit or the source from the other person, you're picking up on those abilities. You're picking up on those senses that are in your mind. And they're trying to tell you something. And they'll oftentimes remind you, hey, gee, somebody really likes to bake bread. Why am I getting that? Who liked to bake bread? Oh, Grandma used to love to bake bread. I guess she's trying to get in contact with me. And in fact, that's what often happens. For example, when I'm giving a mediumship reading, I'll start getting all these different pieces of information with all these different clairs. I'll get images, I'll get smells, I'll get sounds, I'll get feelings, I'll get emotions, I'll get all these different things. And they're all just different pieces of a puzzle, right? They're all just different ways to describe a person. So when you start to put together this puzzle with all these different pieces, the picture or the collage starts to come together, and all of a sudden you know exactly who it is, because you know their personality, you know what their emotions were like, you know some of the things they like to do, you know some of the things that they like to see, and they'll give you images of places they used to go. They'll give you some shared memories of places that you like to be together and things that touch their heart. And they'll, in many cases, maybe they might give you a name, or they might give you a relevant street, or they might give you a music piece that was relevant to both of you, something that maybe they like to listen to. So these are all just different pieces of ways that you can identify somebody in spirit who's trying to identify themselves. Once you can do that, you've really got a strong link. So that's something that you can really work with. And that's why I love to bring these types of abilities to the fore, because everybody's got them. Everybody can learn how to work with them. And one of the things that's so important is, like any ability, no matter what it is, it has to be exercised. If you're, for example, going to the gym and you're exercising your arm, or you're lifting weights and you're trying to get your biceps bigger, right? Over time, the more you exercise your biceps, the more defined they get, the stronger they get, the bigger they get, because you're exercising them. If you don't do anything with them, they're not going to grow. Well, it's the same thing with your psychic abilities. If your psychic abilities are lying dormant, how do you get them to the top? How do you get them to be more defined? How do you get them to be stronger? You exercise them. So you have to keep on doing exercises to make them stronger, to make them active. One perfect way to do that, for example, is your gut instinct, your clairsentience. Start listening to that gut instinct, that reaction that you will feel in your solar plexus when all of a sudden you feel, I should be doing this, or I should not be doing this. It's going to be a really, really subtle voice that you're going to want to ignore. Historically, you've probably always ignored it. But now is the time to listen to it and trust it. And when you start to listen to your inner voice, your solar plexus, your gut instinct, your clairsentience, listen to what it's saying. Listen to how it's trying to give you information. And over time, you'll start to trust it and start to see what it says. And you'll start to notice that, hey, guess what? This is right. I'll start to work with it. And so that's just one thing. Maybe start picking up other pieces of information. Maybe start working with clairvoyance. Start writing down dreams. Start using different exercises to work with your third eye, and start to work with different exercises that you can do to imagine a red shiny apple in your mind. Start imagining the different colors on a triangle that keep on changing every 60 seconds. Then start having it change shape. Because what you also need to do is you need to work on your focus. And we can do an entire exercise on how you can work strengthening your psychic abilities. In fact, I've got a free psychic course that lasts over about 7 days that I can put in the description. And if you want that, just take a look at the link, and I can give that to you, because it's a great way to not only learn what the different psychic abilities are, but it's also a great way to exercise your psychic abilities, get them stronger and get them working. And that's something that I'll put down below in the resources link. And it's a great tool to work with. In fact, what I'll show you is that there's a link below here that, and that's kind of what it looks like. The course is called How to Develop Your Intuition and Psychic Senses, and there's a link below in the description for that. And what I want to do is be able to help everybody learn how they can use these dormant senses that are sitting right back here, because everybody says, oh, I don't have them. Well, in fact, everybody does have them. Like I was telling you before, you got that gut instinct. Everybody's got the gut instinct, but how many people actually follow their gut instinct? Not many people at all. How many people follow their intuition? In fact, I would love to see a number of hands of people who actually regularly listen to their intuition. If you regularly follow your intuition and your instinct on a regular basis, let me know in the comments, because I would love to I'd love to find out somebody who's always listening to their intuition. That'd be great. I'll bet there's not going to be many people who do. So that's just one example of that. So when you start to think about that, start knowing that it just takes practice. It just takes exercise. It just takes you going to your psychic gym and working out your psychic senses. That's all it is. All you need is a trainer to say, okay, do these steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or give me 10 reps. Give me 10 more reps. I want 3 more sets. I want you sweating. I want you working, because there's no other way to get these things active than to really start working them, right? So that's something that you really got to work. And if you keep on trying, that's all you can do. Don't expect miracles overnight, by all means, right? So that's something that is really important. I hope you guys are getting value out of this, because I love giving you the information. This is, as you can tell, if you couldn't tell already, that this is kind of like a passion that's near and dear to my heart, trying to get this information out, because everybody's got to know this. Everybody is able to get that. So if you like that, and I hope you're getting good value out of it. In fact, if you are getting value out of it, go down to the link, subscribe below. That'd be awesome, because that way you'll be able to get all my different, videos. You'll be able to get all the different weekly alerts that whenever I come out with a broadcast. So that'll be great. Let me turn it over to you. What questions do you guys have that I can try to answer? Because I've been going off on my mouth for way too long, right? Because I've got about another 8-ish minutes. What questions can I answer for you? Let me turn the broadcast over to you and just answer your questions. I see Karen's saying that many times that she's recently smelling a paint stripper. Oh my gosh, can't think who used to use it. Karen, I hope you're not smelling the paint stripper too long. That's something you might want to think about. But yeah, definitely, exercise your psychic senses, work with your psychic senses. And again, I want to bring back to your attention your aura. This is a diagram, if you remember, of our different energetic bodies, because we are nothing but energy. We are nothing but a different vibration and vibratory states. The red, which is a connection to our root chakra, that is the lowest vibration, the closest to the material vibration. For example, our skin and everything. It's as close as we possibly can be. And you go all the way out to the causal body, the violet color, that is upwards of anywhere between 6 and 8 feet away from us. And that is the highest vibration that we have. So you can see that the aura, which is such a beautiful representation of our different levels of energy. And you'll notice that our different levels of energy actually will dominate the color of a person's aura. So say, for example, a person is really focused on stability, is really focused on security, really rooted in Mother Earth, then they're going to have a tremendous amount of red in their aura. Conversely, if a person is really connected to the divinity or spirituality or source energy, then there's going to be a tremendous amount of violet in their aura, and that will be the dominant color. Also, you can say, okay, well, what is the color of healing? What is the color of love consciousness? That's green. And that's where you're going to see a tremendous amount of green in a person's aura. So let's say, for example, you're a healer. You could be a nurse, you could be a doctor, you could be a counselor, you could be somebody who's providing healing in some way, shape, or form, right? There would be a tremendous amount of green in your aura if you're constantly trying to help other people, heal other people, bring healing to other people in some fashion, right? So that's where you're going to get a lot of green. You can see, for example, if somebody is doing a reading or if somebody's going into trance, people's auras will change. And it all depends on your emotions. It depends on your connections. It depends on where you are at any given time. And think of it almost like a mood ring, right? If you guys remember way back in the 70s, I used to have mood rings. It's the similar concept. Mood rings are basically focusing on your energy. In reality, they were actually based off of heat back then, but the concept's exactly the same. Your mood will change based on what you're feeling and giving off at that time. So I think I've probably gone way over on the aura, but I thought it would be very helpful. Kathy's talking about unity consciousness. So you'd love to talk about unity consciousness. Yes, and definitely unity consciousness is a huge deal. If everybody was to suddenly become aware of the fact that there is no separation, that we are all one and the same, and that there is actually no separation from source energy, and that we're actually just various different pieces of the same thing, then the world would be a very different place, wouldn't it? Think of ourselves as just different droplets in a huge ocean, or just different pieces of a gigantic explosion. The way to think about that would be go way back to the beginning of time. Go back to the Big Bang, when all of existence was nothing but a ball of gas. That ball of gas, many people in spirituality consider to be source energy, and source energy decided to send out its particles to go investigate what was out there. We wind up being part and parcel of that. Scientifically, you can call that gas energy, which is carbon, and then it just explodes out into infinity, and we're part of that. So we're just pieces of that small gas cloud that exploded, and here we are now. Yet we're all one and the same. We're not separate. So that's unity consciousness in a nutshell, right? So I love that. And Melba's asking, how do you practice more clairaudience? Great question. Great question. One of the things that you can do, in fact, this is in the course that's down below. One of the things that you can do is to just sit for, say, 10 minutes and imagine first somebody playing violin, doing scales on a violin. Next, listen in your mind to somebody playing chopsticks on a piano. Next, you can begin to listen in your mind to the sound of a steam engine coming into a station. Listen to the movement of the steaming water against the side of the locomotive. Listen to the squeal of steel on steel as it breaks. Listen to the smash of the buffers of the steel as it's smashing against each other. Listen to the whistle as it's coming in. Listen to the smokestack as it's going, and just every single sound you can come up with the sound of a steam engine coming into a station. Next, come up with the imagination of a sound of a buzzsaw. This chainsaw is cutting down a tree. Listen to the chainsaw start, listen to the chainsaw rev, and then listen for that chainsaw starting to cut down into the tree. Next, go into your mind and start listening to the sound of a racing car. Racing car just idling for a second. All of a sudden, it takes off. Do the same thing with a motorcycle. Listen to the sound of a baby. I mean, there's infinitesimal types of sounds. Just keep doing this over, like, upwards of 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. The more you do this and practice on a daily basis, you can really start to pick up things, and you're going to become very focused on that. So I hope that answers your question, Melba. So great question, by the way. And what else do we have? Karen's actually talking about seeing a rainbow this morning, and driving in the rain, said to herself, see a rainbow, and as I got to the motorway, I looked in my mirror and it was behind you. There's movement, there's focus, and notice how the rainbow is also 7 colors, how it's also got the same color set as the aura and the chakras. There's no coincidence that these are all 7 colors and that these are all 7 layers. It's all the same, one and the same thing. They're all coming from different places. Many people just look at a rainbow and say, oh, that looks nice, that's pretty, let me move on. But look at it more energetically, look at it more spiritually, if you will, right? So I hope that has answered everybody's questions. If you've got more questions, please let me know, but I don't want to go on too long. If you're finding value in this, then by all means, please, click on the subscribe button below. That way we can, send out alerts to you, and I can let you know that I've got a broadcast coming up, or I can let you know that there are different videos that are coming out. If you're interested in finding different videos, that's the way to do it. The subscribe button, as well as that little bell that will alert you to the fact and notify you to the fact that, hey, by the way, there's a new video out, or there's a new broadcast getting scheduled. Because if you don't do that, then you won't be listening or being aware of that. So that's something to do. And also, again, there's the course. Actually, I think there are 2 courses down below in the description. One is the free course about the psychic senses, how you can strengthen your psychic senses. And there's also another free masterclass link that you can look at, and that'll really kind of teach you how you can kind of begin to walk down that path of both either being a psychic or being a medium, or really expanding your abilities that you have. Because again, we're all innate. We all have these abilities that are innate to us. It's a question of what do we do with them, and why do we have them, right? So thank you, everybody. I love connecting with you, and I love this great format on YouTube. And as you can see, I loved adding some of the graphics that are on there. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign off tonight, and I will see you live next Wednesday at 5:30 Eastern. And hopefully there'll be a lot more other videos to watch that I'll put out on YouTube. So I will see you next time. Until then, love and light. Bye-bye.